Most know the crucial role Tennessee played when women won the right to vote. On August 18, 1920, the Tennessee General Assembly voted to ratify the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, with Representative Harry T. Burns' legendary cliffhanger vote creating the 3/4 majority of the states needed for passage of the 19th Amendment.
What is not well known is that numerous influential Tennessee women, many of whom were lawyers, worked extremely hard for years to produce that decisive moment in U.S. and Tennessee history. Women have continued to lead Tennessee and its legal profession.
Before women were allowed to vote, Tennessee women were pushing their way into the legal profession and public life. After the Civil War, many African Americans and a few women pursued a legal education by any means available to them. In 1869, 51 years before women attained the constitutional right to vote, Howard University in Washington, D.C. opened the first law school dedicated to the education of African Americans, and women were allowed admission.
The same was true at Tennessee's first law school for African Americans, Central Tennessee College in Nashville. Originally supported by the Freedmen's Aid Society, the college was chartered by the Methodist Church in 1876.
Gaining admission to the bar, however, proved an almost insurmountable barrier for most women. The long-time custom of local judges or panels evaluating the qualifications of applicants to practice in local courts stymied most women applicants and forced them to wait years for acceptance of their professional peer group.
Despite this barrier, more and more women went to law school. The University of Tennessee Law School admitted its first female student in 1903, followed by Cumberland University in 1905 and Vanderbilt University in 1916. Several night law schools across the state also offered opportunities for women to study the law. Chattanooga College of Law, founded in 1899, was open to women, as was the YMCA Night Law School in Nashville, founded in 1911 and chartered in 1927.
Few people know that the first woman of any race to graduate from a law school in Tennessee and to be admitted to practice before a court in Tennessee was an African-American woman named Ludi Lytle. Lytle was born in 1875 in Murfreesboro. Her father was an ex-slave who was a resourceful entrepreneur and barber and political organizer. However, her family moved to Kansas in 1882 when the Ku Klux Klan began terrorizing Black people in Middle Tennessee with night raids on their homes. Ludi Lytle later returned to Chattanooga to teach school, determined to earn enough to finance her law school education at Central Tennessee College. Lytle became the first woman in the United States to teach at a law school when she accepted a position at her alma mater, teaching domestic relations, evidence, real property, and criminal law. Lytle was one of the first lawyers to concentrate her practice on combating oppression of Blacks and women.
Shortly after Lytle, in 1900, Marion Scudder Griffin, without a law degree, passed the bar examination, but was denied the right to practice law by the Tennessee Supreme Court. Griffin studied the law while working in a Memphis law office as a secretary. She passed the bar examination when a law degree was not required to practice. Yet, when she petitioned the Tennessee Supreme Court in 1900 and in 1901, her request was denied each time.
Griffin later attended the University of Michigan Law School, graduating with high honors in 1906. She was only admitted to practice in Tennessee after the Tennessee General Assembly passed Chapter 69, an act to authorize the admission of women to the practice of law on February 13, 1907.
Lytle and Griffin and Chapter 69, authorizing the admission of women into the legal profession, all preceded the passage of the 19th Amendment and laid the groundwork for the female leadership that led to Representative Burns' historic vote in 1920.
That female leadership included Sue Sheldon White of Henderson, Tennessee, who became a leader in both the state and national suffrage movements. She was one of Tennessee's first female court reporters and was a private secretary to several Tennessee Supreme Court justices. She helped form the Jackson League of the Tennessee Equal Suffrage Association, which was an affiliate of the National American Women's Suffrage Association from its founding in 1912. She joined Ann Dallas Dudley in Nashville to organize the state headquarters in 1915 and was elected to be the regional president in 1960.
As momentum for women's voting rights grew, White went on speaking tours across the state and worked in Washington with the leaders of the National Women's Party, editing their national newspaper, The Suffragist. She and other NWP members picketed the White House on February 9, 1919, and were arrested for burning a cartoon of President Wilson. She returned to Nashville to coordinate for the Tennessee campaign for ratification in 1920.
White is thought to have helped to persuade Governor Albert B. Rice in the special session of the legislature to continue the issue, and later to have assisted Anna Lee Keyes Worley, the first woman to serve in the Tennessee Senate, in drafting legislation granting additional rights to women. Senator Worley earned her law degree in 1923.
Abby Crawford Milton earned her law degree from Chattanooga College of Law. Though she never practiced law, she believed that her legal training improved her mind and gave her more credibility as she worked for women's suffrage as the last president of the Tennessee Equal Suffrage Association and as the first president of the League of Women Voters in Tennessee.
Eleanor Coonrod was the first woman admitted to the Tennessee Bar Association. She had served as the secretary of the Chattanooga Equal Suffrage League. The TBA started admitting women in 1909, 9 years prior to the ABA's decision.
Elizabeth Lee Miller, an attorney from Bolivar, and Margaret Irvin Ford, a graduate of Chattanooga College of Law, both of whom had been admitted to the Tennessee Bar Association in 1918, worked to promote the Bar Association's 1918 resolution endorsing women's suffrage by federal amendment.
Margaret Evan Ford, TESA president in 1917, also testified before the Tennessee General Assembly in support of a bill granting women the right to vote in municipal and presidential elections.
After the passage of the 19th Amendment, first continued for the women lawyers of Tennessee.
Camille Kelly became the first female judge in Tennessee in 1920, serving Shelby County's juvenile court.
Kate Drake became the first female county judge in 1931 when she took the bench in DeKalb County.
In 1936, Marguerite Lanham was the first woman admitted to the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Tennessee, a court whose chief judge is currently Judge Pamela L. Reeves, the first woman to hold that position and the first woman to serve as president of the Tennessee Bar Association.
In 1984, Patricia Cottrell became the first woman to serve as Deputy Attorney General for the state of Tennessee.
In 1995, Judge Bernice Donald became the first African-American woman to serve on the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Tennessee.
In 2007, I became the first female presiding judge of a section of the Tennessee Court of Appeals. Since then, there has been no other female presiding judge.
I was either the first Black, the first woman, or the first Black woman in every legal position I have held. I was the first Black law clerk at Woods & Woods, first Black and first woman in-house counsel of a Nashville bank, the first Black and first Black woman attorney at the Tennessee Public Service Commission, the first Black female associate, and the first Black female partner at Waller, Lanston, Dorch & Davis, and the first Black female partner in a large law firm in Nashville.
Margaret Bem and I started the first all-women's law firm in 1980. We fortunately had a lot of help and support from some of the male members of the bar.
And then there's Martha Craig Daughtry. In April 1990, Judge Daughtry was appointed by Governor Ned McWhorter to fill a vacancy on the Tennessee Supreme Court, the first woman to serve on the court. This was the first of many firsts for Justice Daughtry. A 1968 graduate of Vanderbilt Law School, she was one of only 3 women in an entering class of 130.
After graduation, Martha Craig Daugherty was hired as Assistant U.S. Attorney for Middle Tennessee and became the state's first female prosecutor. In 1975, after 3 years as Vanderbilt Law School's first female faculty member, she was tapped to serve on the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals, the first woman named to a court of record in Tennessee history. She was the first woman to sit on Tennessee's highest court and was also the first woman elected to serve an 8-year term on the Tennessee Supreme Court.
3 years into that term, Justice Daugherty was nominated by President Bill Clinton to the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit, which hears appeals from the federal district courts in Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee.
The first woman to serve as Chief Justice of the Tennessee Supreme Court, Janice M. Holder, was chosen by her peers for the 2-year term beginning in 2008. Appointed to the court in 1996, she successfully ran for election to an 8-year term in 1998 and was re-elected in 2006. She retired in 2014.
But these firsts have not been without challenges. Early on, women with law degrees were unlikely to obtain a position in a law firm other than as a legal secretary. For Black women, the challenges are greater. While it is progress that the Tennessee Supreme Court has a majority of women on the bench, there has never been an African-American woman on the Tennessee Supreme Court or an African-American woman on the U.S. Supreme Court.
From the outset, women, of course, have faced biases and prejudice in the legal profession. And for the past 100 years or so, women have fought that and confronted that.
As women began entering the practice of law, we were told by law firms they could not hire women because the clients would not accept them. My first job out of law school was as an assistant attorney general for the state of Tennessee doing criminal appeals. We would receive calls from DAs often to talk about cases they had on appeal. When I would come to the phone, they would say, "Oh no, we wanted to talk to a lawyer."
We, of course, suffered various things like being called little lady or lawyer lady. But on the whole, I think we were pretty well accepted as time went on. I went to the district attorney's office under Judge Shriver, and we started the child support division of the district attorney's office. They were still very reluctant to let women be on the 6th floor of the courthouse doing a criminal case. In fact, the very fact that I was in the child support office certainly spoke to the fact that the criminal court was still pretty much an all-boys court.
Tennessee was the 5th state to have a female majority preside on its Supreme Court, and it has maintained a female majority since 2009. The president and executive director of the Tennessee Bar Associations are both female attorneys. Still, only 25% of the Tennessee judiciary is female. We can and will do better. The women who fought for our right to vote had to get outside of their comfort zone. They had to have incredible courage to get a seat at the table and be part of the political process. The women we are honoring tonight, Justice Daugherty, Justice White, Justice Holder, Justice Clark, Justice Lee, and Justice Kirby, have had tremendous courage, had to get out of their comfort zone, but they did what needed to be done to be able to be on the Supreme Court. That is a lesson for all of us who are here tonight, to think about what it takes to make a difference, to make an impact, and to follow their lead.